Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. In this video, we're going to be taking another look at Harmony One. As we get into this video, guys, if you do find it useful and informative, then do go ahead and hit that like button. I really do appreciate it. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will not miss another update. Right, with that said, done and out of the way, let's jump into this technical analysis for Harmony and see exactly what's going on with the price action of One. So we are starting here on the weekly chart, and Binance is the data source. We are paired up with USDT. Now, I really want to just acknowledge a couple of things. One is obviously the start of the bull run here in March of 2020, and the highs up here in March of 2021. Okay, that was a total of 18,943%, which is significant gain so far. We've obviously seen a correction wave here. This is the fourth wave correction that many people have been kind of talking about and acknowledging in the space. Where we are right now on this chart is exactly where we were previously, and this is really important because this is where we previously got rejected from and we went down to these lower areas here. This low test was an area that we were also testing here and testing here. This actually forms that long-term trend line for us. So again, we've been testing this trend line quite consistently, and this is actually pretty good sign to say that there's pretty much lower risk now to downside, right? Unless we completely invalidate this trend line that has been forming and tested ever since March of 2020. Okay, so just want to kind of put that out there and obviously acknowledge where things are likely to go. We are talking about pushing the price of Harmony One almost up to $1. I do think there is that psychological barrier of $1. I don't think it's going to go much higher than that. But obviously the Fibonacci retracement tools with the extension of the 4.236 does not quite actually go up to that dollar level just yet. And we'll get into that in a moment. The other thing on this weekly chart that's really important that we acknowledge, right? And that is that we are coming up to the overbought area. There's a few altcoins just like this. And this is an interesting sign because it does mean that we will be looking to see a correction on this weekly chart in the very near future. Now, obviously, we have seen a significant portion of August in very much green candles during the weeks. This has helped push this from an oversold area up to this overbought area that it's just entering. So again, we can sustain a few weeks up here, but we will be looking to see some form of correction, and that correction can come in very fast, right? We can see here that we went into overbought. We had 2 weeks of red candles just bringing us down, and then we continued that third wave, really pushing it up much higher. Okay, so again, it doesn't take much of a correction to really help go and push the price back up there. And again, the corrections here can also be outside of price discovery. We can see the stochastic go down with the price moving up, and this is just around how much that momentum comes out, right? We can have a loss of momentum, which helps correct our trends on our RSIs, but obviously allows us still to continue the push to the upside. But those are going to be signs that things are starting to cool off, and very important that we acknowledge them much earlier than maybe you might be aware of otherwise. So let's take a look at the next level down as we go into our daily view. Now, the daily view is also quite an interesting one because, again, like I said earlier, we are coming up against the resistance areas from previously where we saw rejection. Now, up here, this is an area that we need to get closed candle through and preferably above here in the weekly sense. So if we can get a weekly closed candle above this area, which would have been the 786 of the Fibonacci from the high here and the low down here. So that particular motion here, that actually set out this area as a key area for us and basically where we want to see that closed candle above. Right now, we are fighting up against that resistance, and that resistance is being pretty powerful as it has been over here as well. So right now we have been struggling to really push through, and we can see that we are approaching the overbought area on that stochastic relative strength index. So right now, obviously with the resistance, the motion to the upside here and the finding resistance right where we are, this is going to be a bit problematic. Now let's actually jump up into the Harmony One data from 𝗖𝗢 and see what's going on there. So we can see that the AMI-HAD ratio is an A2 rating. That's actually pretty good. And we can also see that the Fear and Greed Index is up there at extreme greed. And everyone who follows the Fear and Greed Index knows that when you go into an extreme greed scenario, it's the area that you want to be considering taking profit. Okay, now obviously getting your timing right can be difficult, specifically in a bull run, but the Fear and Greed Index is a good indication of things that are on the horizon in the next little while. The Sharpe ratio for Harmony is up there at B2, so doing really well as well. The return on investments are the best it can be, an A1 rating, and moving average is up at A2, peak end value at B2. Overall, this gives Harmony One an A3 rating, so very good rating here for Harmony overall, and still doing very well in terms of of the charts. Obviously, finding the resistance that it has found is the only issue that I can see at the moment. Now, obviously, we can, of course, push up, and we'll be confirming what's going on the short term in the moment. But again, we're considering that the fear and greed index is up there with extreme greed. And again, finding the resistance right here, finding that we are coming up and approaching the overbought area, we'll be looking to see if we can find an area of some kind of correction, as we saw over here, right? This is an area that we wicked into before. We were rejected from it. We saw this loss of momentum here over the couple of weeks, whilst we then started to grow back up again. So right now there is a lot of opportunity here to push on through, and that's what we're really looking for before we start to see any more corrections. Now, when we actually jump down into our hourly view, let me just make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see. We can see the battle that we've been having, right? We can see that we're coming up against this area just here, this resistance, coming in at 11.4, really breaking through it up to here, basically trying to get new support being found and failing, coming back down, testing this previous resistance as support, which was good, and then coming back up here, but it's really struggling to find 11.9 as a good support line. Now, obviously, this correction that we started to see here has actually already corrected our stochastic, taking us right the way down into this oversold area. So again, now we have the momentum to continue the push to the upside. Now, what's interesting here is there's a loss of momentum. It's quite small, and it's not too easy to see, but if you do draw a trend line here, you can see it's slightly declining, right? So we can see that right there. And when we actually throw the volumes on, you can see that we had good volume here, and we saw that the decline in the volume, and it hasn't really come back. Even though we pushed the price up here, this particular kind of volume was not utilizing the stochastic very well. So we basically were unable to grow the price any higher than it was over this end because there was not enough volume really coming in. We then also saw the stochastic completely drop out as we started to see a complete loss of volume and a little bit of selling pressure. We saw the volume continue to drop to where it is right now and has every opportunity to grow to the upside. So again, this is a trend line that we want to monitor. If we can actually get a break above this area, that's going to be absolutely key. If we get a rejection from here, then I think we'll be in for a bit of a correction overall, and we should be monitoring that situation quite closely. It's important that we do obviously take into consideration everything that the 𝗖𝗢𝗠𝗠𝗃 dashboard is telling us from an artificial intelligence point of view, removes all the bias. We take a look at these indicators such as the stochastic relative strength index, the volumes. We take a look at all of the support and resistance lines, and we basically draw conclusions, right? We have to make sure that the stronger technicals, which are of course your support and resistance lines in line with things like your correction waves and your stochastic relative strength index, your volumes, your sentiments, all of those pieces compiled together to whether or not they're going to be looking at a kind of short-term pullback or a break to the upside. And the key for us right now is to get above 11.9 cent, which I think will happen probably the next 12 to 24 hours, and then look to see if we can breach this trend line. Get a higher high than this area here is going to be key, and allowing us to continue the growth to the upside. That's the short-term kind of thoughts, guys. And again, on the weekly, on the daily chart here, we'll be understanding that we are going to moving up once we get a closed candle above here, but it should be short-lived because we are in need of a correction. Again, this is going confirmed by our weekly chart entering this overbought area. So rejections from this area where we are right now is a bit of a problem, but if we can actually get a closed candle in the right area, it might actually protect us a little bit from going down all the way to our lower trend line, where we could potentially see a correction go down to below probably around that kind of 8.1 cent, around the 8 cent area. Could be a low area of a correction if we completely lose momentum, and we do need to actually start to see a correction on this weekly chart. Guys, I will leave it there, but if you have found this video useful and informative, then do go ahead and hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here. Guys, with this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.